Hello. Haven't done this in a while. That's loud. Hold up. Ooh, that was loud. Hello, everybody. Hey. Haven't been on here in like flipping month. Alrighty, get everything situated. Okay. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't liked the stream yet, please like the stream. It helps the algorithm with getting it out to more people. I need to get back in my flow because I think the algorithms hate me. The algorithm hates me now because I took time off. No. Hello, Sapphira. I know. I saw that too. And I said flipping. But, oh, Sapphira, but it's Silva. Okay. Okay. I thought so. I was looking on the Twitch, whatchamacallit thing, instead of the OBS thing, and the Twitch dashboard doesn't show the user icon, the user logo. It just says the name. But my chat thing through Restream has your user icon. I'm like, oh, that's Silva. Alrighty. Hey, Noel Main. Silva says, today I learned the writer who made one of the most uncomfortable episodes of Star Trek TNG also wrote one of the most uncomfortable episodes of Stargate SG-1, and both are season 1, episode 4. Oh, goodness. Problematic writer's gonna be problematic. Ah. Ah. Sure. Hold on one second. Of course, my VTuber, whatchamacallit, my VMagic mirror, thing that I use for my model, updated in the time that I've been gone. So I'm like, oh, okay, I might as well get that. Can I have the password saved? Did I create it with my Google? Come on. Come on. Get the thing. Not hard. It's been going, Noel Main. I have been kind of in a funk, lost inside my head, spinning around with different ideas. I actually had kind of a really scary thing happen today, and I thought I was gonna die. I legit thought I was going to die, which was interesting. As in, like, I was debating texting my partner and being like, I might be dead soon. Which was definitely an interesting experience. Oh, goodness gravy. Alrighty. hold on. Let me get through this Twitch ad and I'll tell you what happened. Okay, there we go. Finish. Please tell me I don't have to do things. Come on. Oh, it has all my saves. Yes. Cool. Update. Awesome. Model. Everything is the same. Okay, cool. Alrighty. Run the Twitch ad. Close that. What am I looking for? I am looking for Google Docs. I've started using Google Docs more for things because sometimes I like to like work on stuff whenever I'm like laying in bed or something. I'll work on it on my phone. There we go. And there we go. Cool. Just having this stuff on Google Docs means I can work on it on my computer, and then I can pull up the same document and work on it on my phone. Oop. Okay, cool. Awesome. Outstanding. But I've been milling around this idea for a little while. Okay. Once the ad come out the other side, I will change screens. Music seems to be going good. Cool. Awesome. Outstanding. Wonderful. Okay, looks like we're out the ad. Okay, let's go to just chatting. Okay, so today, right? Hold on, let me calibrate my model because my model is doing weird things. Come here. All right. There we go. Cool. Awesome. Outstanding. So today, around like 2:30-ish, right? 2:30, 2:40-ish, right? I thought I had a telehealth appointment with my my psychiatrist, at 3. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to be getting a call soon. And then, I get a knock on my door, right? And I'm like, who's that? I look through the thing. I see a guy with he had a fuzzy hat on and was wearing looked like work clothes, and he had a reflective vest like you see on like construction workers, right? So I was like, okay, who's this guy? And I opened the door, right? And he's like, hey, I'm here with maintenance, here to do an inspection. I'm like, well, what are you inspecting? He's like, just making sure your power outlets work, clean the air vents, change the air filters, and change the furnace filter, and just make sure everything works. And I'm like, all right, sure. I didn't normally we get like notices if maintenance is coming, but I hadn't gotten a notice. So I was like, all right, I must have missed a notice or didn't get on my door and they put it downstairs and I didn't see it or whatever, right? And I'm like, okay. So the guy in, he has bag of tools, he starts doing his stuff, and I'm like watching him because he's the stranger in my house, in my apartment, right? And he's like plugging these this thing in to make sure the power outlets work and doing all that stuff, right? Hey LeMay. And so I'm like, I didn't realize that, maintenance was coming today. And I'm like watching him work, and he's checking stuff. He's making sure all the doors close, like all the closets close and everything. And when I'm behind him at one point, I see there's a logo on the back of his reflective vest, and there's a company name. And I'm like, That's weird. It was Park Run. And I'm like, that doesn't sound like a construction company. Or like a maintenance company. So I'm like, while he's working on stuff, I like Google it, right? And Park Run is a 5K race. And I'm like, is it the same Park Run? And it was the same logo. And I'm like, oh, crud. This guy is wearing fake the reflective vest was real, but I'm like, I have a stranger in my house, in my apartment with tools who is wearing a vest, claiming to be maintenance and wearing a vest from that would be given to a volunteer at a 5K race. And I'm like, oh, this might be bad. And he looked like he was pretty, like, he didn't look like big muscular, but like he was like, looked pretty well built. So I was like, okay, what do I do? Like, how do I deal with this situation, right? So I very calmly walked into my room, I had my phone already, grabbed my wallet, put it in my pocket, and grabbed my keys, and I grabbed I don't have a pocket knife, but I have like a fold out box cutter. And I like slid it into my pocket while he was working on stuff. And I was like, that's the point where I was like, okay, what do I do here? Right? He seemed to be doing actual work in the apartment, right? So I'm like, I'm waiting for like the other foot to drop, right? And that was the point when I was like, do I text my partner and tell her what's going on and be like, hey, if you don't hear from me in a certain amount of time, that means that I might be dead or really injured. But like, it's a long distance relationship, so there's not really a whole lot of things that like he could do if something happened. So I'm like, it'll probably like freak her out, and there might be some way to like diffuse this situation, right? And so I had my hand on the box cutter in my pocket, and I just kind of like he was like kneeling down working on something on one of the doors that wouldn't close properly, and I was like, so the logo and company name on your vest, is that the company you work for? And he's like, no, my company buys a bunch of these vests used from a bunch of other things, and we just grab a vest when we leave the office because people like to see something official whenever we're going into their houses and working on stuff, or into their places and working on stuff. And I'm like, that's not sketchy at all. And I'm like, and I'm like, are you aware that the company name and logo on your vest is for a foot race? And he just shrugged. He was like, yeah. He was like, oh, okay. And went back to work. And I'm like, okay. Because like, and then I realized the vest said volunteer, right? And I'm like, what? This is obviously an employee doing work. This isn't a volunteer. I'm like, oh, okay. It's a vest for a volunteer at this 5K race, but this other company just bought the vest after the race, I guess. and bought like a bunch of vests. And I guess like since it seemed like it was a charity thing or whatever, I'm like, maybe this is a way they make back some of the money. They just like, hey, we'll sell our excess stuff. And but like I was legit like, oh well, okay, this might be bad. Because then like the second guy came in and was working on something else in the apartment, and I was like, okay, there's two guys. One of them is significantly bigger and burlier than the other. And I'm like, what am I going to do? And it was a moment. It was actually a moment. I don't think they were subcontractors. I think they actually worked for my apartment complex. But the thing is, they weren't the normal maintenance guys. We have normal maintenance guys on staff. And we have two normal maintenance guys that I see around the apartment complex all the time, right? And these were not them at all. I'd never seen these guys in my life. And I've been here for like a good number of months now. But it was like, yeah, it was a thing. I can laugh about it now, right? I can laugh about it now. But like in the moment, it was just like, okay, this might be going down. I was like, Harry and Marv. The sticky bandits, the wet bandits. That's the Home Alone reference, right? Superheating the doorknob, paint buckets, broken ornaments. Just your average war crimes. Just your average war crimes. Oh my gosh, speaking of war crimes. This is gonna sound so messed up. Actually, I don't know if I told you all about this. Because it's been so long since I streamed. I don't know if I told you all about this. Yes, absolutely, Silva. Absolutely, no questions asked. But I don't remember if I told you about this, but I had a thing where my last like major my last Lancer session that I ran, because we didn't do one last week because we didn't do one this week because of scheduling and like Christmas stuff, and we did do one last week. I think, yes, the week before. You know what I mean? And I don't think I told you all about this. We had this climactic moment, right? Where there was like no one wrote, like there was not a battle map on the screen, right? People were not rolling, hey Nevermore. It's been a ride. It's been a ride, Nevermore, but you know, that's just life, you know? And so I'm running this Lancer session and it was like all RP, right? No attack rolls were really rolled, right? But there was so much violence. It was like, ooh. Yeah, it's been a ride. Like, it hasn't all been good, Nevermore. Like, I've been kind of battling some like depression stuff and kind of stuff and stuff, but like I'm starting to come out the other side. I know I started stream late today, but I was like, I'm gonna stream. I miss streaming. And we're here. But yeah, so like the players have been, yeah, depression is tough. the players have been in my Lancer game. For those of you who don't know, Lancer is a mech-based TTRPG. Some people describe it as Pathfinder with giant robots, which is not entirely a wrong description. So you, well, not you, they, the players had been dealing with this evil organization for a while that had been using another organization as a front, right? And they had been trying to find out if this evil organization was like a secret portion of the front company, or if the entire front company was just the evil organization. And they had gotten in the previous encounter confirmation that the entire organization was a sham, right? And that like it was it was a whole thing, right? And so the evil organization had set them up for a trap, had tried to set them up for a trap, but they'd been able to like outsmart the trap. And they got the proof they needed, and so they went back to the evil organization's headquarters, right? And the thing is, in Lancer, this is like in the standard setting, but like, well, this is a thing in the standard setting that I like to keep in my setting, is that with relativistic space travel, with like cosmic distances, the thing in Lancer is you have blink gates. When you go from one blink gate, you instantly pop out of another blink gate, and like you have like there's a whole network of blink gates, but there's only a limited number of blink gates. And whenever you go to like from planet to planet, it takes time, right? And there's this thing that like, because of relativity, it feels like it's a small amount of time for the people on the ship because they're moving at near light speed. But for the rest of the universe, it's a pretty long time, right? And so there was this whole thing where, hey, Forever, good to see you, good to see you. So there was this whole thing where these bad guys had been like, hey, though they were masquerading as good guys, and they were like, hey, we're gonna send you to this in order to try to find the secret organization that has been corrupting our good organization and blah, 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 blah. And they're like, it'll take you 3 months to get there. It should feel like 3 weeks or something. Because I normally do a week to a month for relativistic space travel, right? So they're like, it'll probably take you, like, it'll feel like 3 weeks for you, but it'll take about 3 months. And then you'll get there and you can do this. That's how you get Earth. Oh, goodness. And so, but what the bad guys did not know, is that for the last, like, year of in-game time, one of the players has been researching and is doing researching and testing and making prototypes to build essentially a warp, a warp drive, essentially. Well, not really a warp drive, more of like a well, it's a blink. They call it the blink drive, where basically they don't need a gate to go into blink space. They can literally just, and they don't need to come out of a gate either. So they can go and instantly transport from one location to another location. There is a thing where the drive needs to cool down for 3 hours between each jump. And it's more, explained it as like their particles need to restabilize before they can safely jump again. Yes, exactly, Norman. Blink and you'll miss it. And so, the bad guys were expecting them to get there in 3 months. They got there. They took like 2 jumps. They took 1 jump, waited 3 hours, jumped again. And so like they got there like 3 hours later and were able to like catch the bad guys by surprise. So then the bad guys thought that, oh, they must have already had a ship in the area, which means they knew we were going to send them there, which means they outsmarted us, right? And so when the players did their whole sequence of events, this had been a situation where I'd set up a choice for the players, right? There were two missions they could take, right? Both dealing with the two major evil organizations that have been plaguing the players, that have started, those two organizations have started cooperating, right? But they were working towards two separate objectives. But I staggered it in such a way that because the players had the blink drive, they could theoretically do both missions, but they wouldn't be able to get a long rest in between them. They would only be able to get a short rest. And it would take multiple jumps to complete the missions, right? And I'm like, you could do one, you could do the other, or you could do both. And if you do both, that is going to be very intense. That is going to be 4 complete combats with only a short rest between 2 of them. And I'm like, I leave it up to you players. And the players decided that they wanted to do the hard route and do both missions, right? And this involves essentially the player characters going between battlefields and like fighting with like very little breaks in between for like 12 hours straight in game, right? And it's like the longest, it is like the longest mission that I've ever had them on, right? It is like the longest series of combats that I've ever had them on. They had to use so much of their resources. They had to think so strategically. It pushed them so much to the limits. There was some stuff where like I had not calculated for certain things that they could do that like made one of those scenarios like almost, I don't want to say trivial, but like it made one of those scenarios a lot simpler than I'd intended it to be. And I was like, you know what? I could nerf this mid-battle, right? Or I let it happen because the player characters have a lot to get through. So having one of the 4 combats be easier than intended is not the end of the world, right? And so after they completed all of that, right? They're like, oh geez, that's nuts, Noel, man. And this series of combats, one more burst, that sounds so nuts. Like whenever you're playing a team game and like everybody goes down except one player, everybody else is watching that one player because the screens are locked onto that one player, and they're just like, they're hyping up that player like, you got this. Yeah, it sounds so epic. But so this series of combats took it took multiple sessions to work through, right? And then we get to the end, and the players are like, okay, now that we've dealt with all the combats, we need to loop back around, go back to, because they took out one of the bad guys fleets as they were fleeing the battle. And then they're like, okay, now we need to go deal with the other organization and we need to go back to their headquarters. So they show up at the headquarters. It is a big office building that is just for them. That is just this organization's. And it's in the middle of like an urban center, right? It's got its own spaceport and everything. So they land their ship there and they just come in unannounced, right? And in Lancer, there are pilot scale weapons, and then there are pilot weapons, and then there are mech weapons. Pilot weapons can be used on mechs, they just don't do a whole lot of damage. It's not like different scales or anything, it's just like different damage amounts, expectations as far as ranges, and so on and so forth. And then attacking with a pilot weapon is normally a full action instead of a quick action, and so on and so forth. Well, one of the player characters, she uses an Atlas mech. An Atlas mech is a size 1/2 mech. A person is roughly size 1/2. A person is a little bit less than size 1/2. So the idea is that a size 1/2 mech is like essentially extremely reinforced body armor. It's not like a full scale mech, right? So with size 1/2 mech, you can go down a hallway and walk into a building, and she did. She loaded up, and the others brought their pilot gear, and they stormed the building. I'm looking at you, Goblin. Yes, exactly, Noel Main. She was in an Atlas. And I think it was Atlas. Now I'm questioning it in my head. Yeah, well, yeah. And so, they get in, and just because I wanted to be cinematic, right? They storm into a conference room, and the head of the organization is in the conference room, along with a bunch of the board of directors and other leaders in like a heated meeting, right? And the players, I didn't have them like roll for combat or anything, as much as I just said, hey, to the player in the Atlas, give me a hull check to see how effectively you fight through the guards. And you have bonus accuracy because you're fighting in a mech, and you're fighting with mech like powered weapons, and everyone else is using personal weapons, right? And so she succeeded, and we just hand waved it and said, you successfully get through the guards without like setting off any alarms, and you get to the boardroom, right? So I'm like, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do, right? And the players like communicating with each other because they have on their hard suits, they have like subvocal communication so they can communicate silently, right? And they're like, we just kill them now? What do we do, right? And one of the players was like, I want to give them one last chance to like own up to what's going on and to actually tell us what's going on, right? So like one of them who's like she's like a super soldier, right? And she like jumps on the conference table. Hey Kimberly, good to see you. Good to see you. I hope everything's good for you. So they start interrogating the leader of this organization, right? And ad's about to start on Twitch. Let me run the ad now. I'll finish the story with the edit. Oh, let me check something. I gotta check my mail today. Something I gotta do later. Oh, you saw Red One? Cool. I'm doing all right. I was dealing with a little bit of like, kind of, you know, depresso, espresso kind of stuff. But I think I'm coming out the other side. I'm feeling better. But we'll see how stuff pans out. You know what I mean? Just gotta take it one day at a time. Oh, I didn't post on Twitter that I was going live. Or on Blue Sky. I just posted in Discord. Okay, is the ad over? Yes, ad's over. Okay, so they're like doing this interrogation, and I'm like, okay, I want to give some depth to these characters. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have the bad guy be cooperative, right? See what they do if he's giving them the information. He's a religious fanatic, right? So have him giving them the information, right? But he doesn't have all the information, right? And so, and the bad guy was like a religious fanatic, and the idea was that he accepted he was going to die. So he was like taking this last chance to essentially preach his gospel, right? But some of the people, some of the people in the boardroom, in the conference room, had like accepted that the players were going to take him out, right? And some of them were deluding themselves into thinking that they might get spared or something might go right, you know. And this evil organization, right? At some point, way back. This campaign's been running for over 2 years, real time, right? And it's been a little over 2 years in game time because we've done some time skips, right? So this evil organization killed the first friendly NPC that the players met in the first session when they first started this campaign. I think it was the first session. It was like either the first or second session. That they were on the new planet to start their adventure, and this friendly little old lady had come and been like, hey, you're new, welcome to town, glad to have you, you know, hopefully you can do some good work around the town. We always need we need extra help with your skills. You could really be a boon to all of us. And she was really community minded, and she was like, listen, if you don't got anywhere to stay, because she had a farm, right? And she was like, if you don't got anywhere to stay, you could stay at my farm. We always have extra space in the farmhand, because she had like a thing for like communal housing for her farmhands if they didn't have anywhere else to go. She's like, we always get extra bunks. And the players had accepted. And so I was like running with it with that thing way back, right? And she had even thrown a party for them to celebrate their first night on the new planet, right? And like that was like this formative moment for the party, right? Where like one of the player characters, who was an escaped super soldier, had spent so much of her life being essentially mind controlled to do horrific things, right? And been struggling to find her own identity, right? She went to like her first actual party and she learned what a keg stand was, which sounds so like silly, right? But like for a character who like just struggles so much to understand the concept of like, who was like struggling to like get in touch with her humanity and with like understanding life outside of combat, that was like this special moment when she did her first keg stand, right? And I don't think she's done she might have done a keg stand like once or twice over again through over the course of the campaign or whatever. But like that was like this special formative moment, right? And the party bonded with her. And there was a thing later on down the line where they were doing further adventuring. And one of the first things that introduced this evil organization was that they were back in town, in the starting town, doing some business, even though they've been moving around the planet. And when they were in town, he'd invited them, since they were back in town, to have dinner. So the players went to have dinner with her, had a nice party, catch up on what everybody's doing, notice what's going on, introduce the new member they get to the party since they left, and like just like having fun, right? Well, they even brought some NPCs that had normally been like stuck on the ship in order to have fun, right? The players like there was a whole thing where the players like went to a circus, because there was a circus in town, and then after the circus they went to dinner at this NPC's house. Her name is Maria, right? And then the next day, right, players got informed that Maria was found dead in her bed, right? And the coroners, when they examined her, had ruled it just old age. It looked like her heart had stopped, right? And the players were suspicious because, like, when they'd seen her the night before, she was active and spry, and she was still like she wasn't doing all the stuff she used to do when she was younger, but she seemed relatively healthy, right? So the players investigated, went on a whole adventure, and they found out that she had been having money problems because there'd been I don't know, plague. There'd been a disease spreading to the crops in that region around the starting town, and a bunch of farms had to lay off farmhands in order to try to like stay open because they weren't getting enough stuff to sell, right? And so Maria had been taking on all of these farmhands, even if she didn't have work for them. She was taking them on and paying them. And there was this whole thing where it was like, how was she paying them? And she left the farm to her grandson and left her grandson in the care of the party because she trusted them, and the party had bonded with her grandson. And it was this whole thing where they found out that in order to make ends meet, Maria had become an information broker. And she was selling intel. She was gathering intel and selling it on the black market. In order to like essentially keep the town afloat, right? And somebody wanted information from her about the party. that she was not willing to sell, right? And it was this convoluted thing where one evil organization wanted information about the party that Maria was not willing to sell. And when she refused to sell, they leaked to their rival evil organization that she was helping them to bait the rival evil organization to come take her out, which would theoretically hurt them, but it was all intentional of like mismatching stuff, right? And that was how they were introduced to this evil organization, was that they, got baited into taking her out. And the players went on a whole quest of like discovering clues and finding stuff and taking out the agents. And it was like this moment where like this kind woman, and it was this really interesting thing where like when they found out what information she was selling, they found out when it came to selling intel about them, there was some intel she wouldn't sell, but the intel she was selling was intentionally outdated. Hello, country girl. And there was this one really interesting moment where like one of the players was like fighting the agents of the evil organization, and they're like, why are you fighting us? She was selling intel on you. And the player was like, she was selling old intel in order to help the town. Like, that was like, and it was like this emotional moment. And so that was like over a year ago, right? And they have been kind of clashing with, or like trying to track down this organization since then to figure out if it was the whole thing. And they found out the whole organization was evil. And so that all culminated in this moment in this conference room, talking to the leader of this organization that had ordered Maria's death, right? And all of the players, and the more they talked about the more they like revealed about what they believed and what they did, the more and more like the players were like being like just disgusted with them and being like, we can't stand you. But the players were like trying to play it cool, but it brought out this like intensity in the players, right? And like, well, in the characters, I'm sure the players were fine, but like the characters were like really in the moment, and like, yo, it got dark. It got dark. It got real dark. The player in the Atlas released clouds of they're called hive drones. They're nanobots to slowly eat all of the people in the conference room, including the leader, but just not the players, not the player characters. But it was going so slowly that the people didn't know it was happening at first. And what else did they do? And one player, after realizing they didn't need the leader anymore, just straight like slit his throat. And the other player rushed over, used a patch, which is a thing you can use to like heal somebody, heal a player, and it won't heal a mech, but it can save a player, it can save a character, an organic thing that's on the verge of death. Slapped a patch on his throat to bring him just barely back to life. And then she just starts yelling at him at all of the things he did wrong when trying to fight them, all of the mistakes he made when he set traps for them, and how disappointed she was in him. And then just let the hive drones eat him slowly as he just barely clung to life and was like really confused and disturbed. Like, it got dark. Uh, when some of the leaders in the conference room realized what was happening, they tried to run for the door, and one of the players was like posted up by the door with his gun out, and he's like, I'm gonna shoot them as they get to the door. He's like, but I'm not gonna shoot them to kill. I'm gonna shoot them in the legs so they fall down and they have to deal with and they can't get to the door and they have to deal with being eaten by the drones. And I'm like, yo, well, that happened. And there's like, I think like 40-ish, 30 or 40-ish NPCs on the player's ship. Those are like characters they've met that have joined them. Like their ship is the size of like a small town, right? And so they have a good community of people with different skill sets and training on hand. And so they're like, okay, I don't know whose idea it was. I don't know if it was my suggestion or if it was their thing. I don't know where it came up, but somehow it came up that they one of the players had like hacked, the tech player had hacked into the evil organization's network after they got there, and I was like, okay, so I guess you could just like shut down every communication going out of the building, right? So like that's the standard thing. You cut the telephone cables, right? Oh my gosh, this player, like, it got so dark because he's like my character hates these people, right? And I'm like, okay, what do you do? He's like, I'm not nice enough for that. My character hates these people. And I'm like, okay, what do you do? He's like, I am going to redirect all outbound communications to my my personal like headset, like they call it Slate in Lancer. It's like essentially a tablet. And I'm like, okay, what are you gonna do? He's like, when I'm gonna lock down the place, cut power, I'm gonna lock down the place, and when people start calling for help, right? I am going to, between myself, and I said, you're probably going to need to use your AI to help you because like there's going to be multiple calls. He's like, yeah. I am going to answer and pretend to be the emergency services. And I'm like, yo. And I'm like, okay, so you have enough NPCs, you could send in a ground team, and what do you want them to do? And they're like, I think it came up that the ground team was just going to clear the building. Just like full, like Terminator status. Like everybody must go. Entire organization is corrupt. And I'm like, okay, all right. So you've got your group of NPCs just going room to room, just like killing everybody. And he's like, yeah. When they start calling for help, I'm gonna be like, don't worry, help is on the way. And whenever like the door unlocks for the kill squad to come in, I'm gonna be like, this is your rescue team here to send you to salvation. And I was like, well, okay, that happened. Well, it didn't happen because it's fictional, but like, you know what I mean? It was like super intense. And like, yeah. But it was fun to get back to. I think we'd had so much combat for so long. It was fun to have an RP session, but it was like super intense. And I was like, afterwards, I was like, that's really dark for your characters. We talked about it after the session, and they're like, honestly, we thought it fit because our characters have just gone on 12 hours of almost non-stop combat, right? And at that point, Some of them are just operating on autopilot. Some of them are just like lost in the violence. I'm like, okay, all right. And then I was like, as they were leaving the building, I was like, what can I do? I need to do something. I need to throw a curve. I need to throw a curve here, right? So I was like, I got it. I said to the leader of the party, the one who's like the head of their organization, it was like, hey, you get a message that is post-dated. It was written previously and triggered to send by a certain trigger from the head of the evil organization. And I'll go over the specifics later, but basically he says that if he's dead, if you're receiving this, that means he's dead and you probably killed him. And for a variety of reasons that he'll explain in the letter, he is essentially giving your organization, you the party, ownership of this building and all of their assets. And they're like, okay. And I did that because I like to put them in paradoxical situations. They're technically like freedom fighters. Well, they're not technically, they are freedom fighters. They're freedom fighters that are working to help and make the world, like trying to improve the galaxy. Yeah. Well, the idea here that I had was this thing. I wanted to add depth to the villain, right? He's a religious fanatic, right? And but he's also a philosopher. And I want it to be a thing where he had taken the time to think about, what if I lose? Now, you've seen that in villains where they have, oh, in case of my death, or in case I lose, I'm going to escape or a clone or leave this so someone else can take my revenge or whatever, right? But I haven't really seen a villain go and think about, especially like the ideological villains, the ones who are motivated by an ideology. That is also true, Gork. That is most definitely true, and that's something that they've been working on. But like, one thing that I hadn't seen from ideological villains is to think about, I might lose. If I lose, not just what happens next, but what does that mean about the ideology I was following, right? Because so often in these stories, the conflict, the fighting isn't just about who's stronger. It becomes about who's actually like on the right side in these stories, right? And so I wanted it to be a case where like this villain had thought about, okay, if I lose with all of the resources at my disposal, the planning, with all of the super predictive power from this godlike entity that I am worshiping, that means that the godlike entity that I was worshiping can be wrong. And if he can be wrong, then that means he might not be the best choice to lead humanity into a brighter future. This entire thing was based on the idea that he was perfect, right? That was their entire like ideology. And so he's like, but looking at the player characters and what they've accomplished, the things where they haven't just succeeded, they've thrived, they've built alliances, they have connected people, and they have done all of these things. And they're like, and he's like, they might be the better choice to help humanity reach a brighter future. So he had this thing where he was trying to play both sides, right? And it was a thing where if he died, that meant he was wrong. And so, since he honestly wanted the best case for humanity, he was giving all that was left of his resources to the player characters, to the player party, as a way to say, this is me putting all of my bets of the future on you. Which that's cool, add some depth to the villain, add some interesting things, right? It's not just another, if I die, the building goes boom or something, right? It was like, honestly, like this thing of he honestly wanted a brighter future for humanity, but he was going about it the wrong way. But he stopped to acknowledge he might be wrong. The other reason I had it was because they're like freedom fighters, like when they were given a control of a farm, they turned it into a workers own commune farm. Yes, exactly, Noel, man. So like they turned it into a workers own like collective. Their whole thing is about like building a collective and like teaching people the value of community, and that's their whole thing, right? But I love to put them in paradoxical situations. And part of giving them all of the assets of the evil organization was that some of those physical assets that were the evil organization was using for funding are rental properties. So now the players are landlords. And then it becomes, and I tell them, if you want to sell this at market value, this is what you're going to get for it, right? You know, it's just, I didn't go like property by property. I'm just like, the combined total of what you have in property is this much. But if they sell it and they sell it for market value, they're going to have to find another real estate company that'll buy it, which I won't make them go really hard to do that. But that means that they're just handing it to another landlord, right? So then it becomes, do they try selling it to the people who are living in it? Can the people who are living in it afford it? Like, I'm not gonna make them like keep a ledger of like all of the expenses and stuff that go into it, right? But like, I want them to think about like the responsibility here, right? Because it's like, what do you do with this, right? Like, technically the players don't need money. They don't need the money from the rental properties. They can get money from their missions as mech pilots, right? But like, what do they choose to do? And I like putting them in these kind of like scenarios. Like, it's really funny. We were talking about how funny some of these scenarios get after the session, and I was like recalling some of the silly ones I put them in before, and I was like, hey, do you all remember that time you all fought to reinstate a monarch to a rebelling country? And they all stopped and they went, wait, oh yeah, we did do that. But the rebels were jerks. But it was a situation where they were like, there was more to the situation. There was more nuance to the situation than what it looked like on the surface, but it still looked like, hey, war bandit, nice to see ya. But it still looked like that, and that was funny. I thought that was that tickled my fancy a little bit. I thought that was funny. I was like, that's a good one. I got a Twitch ad about to start. Gonna run the Twitch ad. for a minute and a half. I'm gonna go get some water while the Twitch ad's running. I will be right back, okay? And then we're gonna start getting to the writing portion of tonight's stream. Alrighty, looks like the ad's over and I'm back. So yeah, Lancer stuff's been really intense. I'm planning for the Lancer stuff to do, like, now that we've had this big emotional conclusion to this long-running story arc that is like been going for like, well, like it's been off and on, bits and pieces, as the pieces came together in this big climactic thing. That's also true, Gork. That is very true. But it's just this stuff with the whole thing with Maria and this evil organization, like getting kind of like wrapped up in this moment of this big thing, and they took out this enemy fleet of the other evil organization, and it's like now I have to just, there's a few plot threads left. We are real close to the end of the campaign, right? But there's still some things I want to get wrapped up, right? I was joking with one of the players. I was like, you know, the primary goal of the evil organizations is to get the true big bad, which is this NHP. It's like an alien AI thing that is currently stored on this planet Ras Shamra, which is the headquarters of Harrison Armories. Harrison Armories is like the default bad guy in the Lancer setting, right? They are like everything wrong with capitalism. Like everything wrong, everything that could be wrong with capitalism, they are, right? They have committed a genocide, or at least once. They do a whole lot of heinous stuff, right? And they have on the planet that is their headquarters this thing called the think tank, where they hold a lot of like powerful NHPs that they are studying and using to predict things in the market, and to do things to make new designs, to just make the best of the best stuff, right? One of those NHPs, unbeknownst to them, has managed to make contact with other people outside the think tank and has been manipulating the goings on in the universe for years, with the goal of getting itself free and giving itself the powers it needs to take over humanity, to take over the galaxy, right? And so the different evil organizations are plotting to put together a plan to storm Ras Shamra and break into the think tank and free this NHP. NHP stands for non-human person. Which is how they describe these like they're essentially aliens made of math that we turned into AIs. But they can do all kinds of like super space magic stuff. And this one wants to take over the galaxy and has been secretly manipulating things to get itself set free. And I told one player, I'm like, as much as I love paradoxes, there is a part of me that wants to have a situation in which there is this big climactic battle where the remaining forces of the evil organizations all band together and storm Ras Shamra, and the players find out, and they're the only ones who can respond in time because the villains have like done something to disable the defenses on Ras Shamra or something, right? And the players have to show up. Oh, nice War Bandit. The players have to show up and fight off the evil organizations, right? And I'm like, so it'd be so cool to have that be this big climactic battle with like a series of stuff happening leading up to it, and like having like the final battle have like all these NPCs of like Harrison Armory, like regulars and stuff coming out and joining the battle and fighting out alongside the players, and then being like, at the end of the combat, after the players have succeeded in repelling the enemy forces, just saying to the players, You've saved the galaxy. Campaign end. Epilogue. You are all HA war heroes and used in propaganda to sell HA merch. And I was like, that would be so freaking evil. It would be absolutely diabolical. Especially because two of the player characters are on the run from HA because they've seen the evil of it. And have been trying to plot to take HA down. And just ending with them becoming HA poster children would be so cruel. The ridiculousness of it just like tickles my brain. When I told my friend, they were like, yeah, I'd probably hate you after that. Like, yeah. I'd call and be like, hey, we haven't talked in a while. I'm like, yeah. And they'd be like, yeah, you know what? It's been a while since the Battle of Rosh Shamra. Bye. Click. That moment where the game ruined your friendship. Which would be, I wouldn't actually do it because like these players have loved these characters, have grown into these characters for over 2 years. And doing that to them would be the ultimate betrayal. I might joke about it, but I would never actually do that to my players. I would probably have a scenario where they do go to Rosh Shamra, they do help defend it, and then they can do something while they're there. The defenses are down. They're on Rosh Shamra. Hey, Elliot, good to see you. So like have a thing where like they can take down the think tank or they can do something to take down HA because they're there and the defenses are down, right? I like the profile picture. Cool. Nice. Let's get ready to get to the actual writing portion of tonight's stream. I've been tinkering around with an idea for a while, right? my god. I'm gonna send this to my... Hold on, I just saw a post on Twitter that I gotta send to my friend. Hold on, I got completely distracted and sidetracked. Nice, LeMay! I'm so proud of you! I wasn't talking about Hunger Games Nevermore. I was talking about Lancer stuff, which is a mech-based RPG. Got your... Oh my gosh, Elliot. You got some drawing done? Nice, 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 nice. And I'm so proud of you, LeMay. Lancer is... have you ever played Pathfinder? Or like D&D? There's look up Nevermore. If you want to look up, I'll see if I can find a Massive Press is who makes it. It's a really, it's fun. I got a little burnt out because I've been running it nonstop for over 2 years, and it's just been a lot. Oh, you probably won't be playing it? Okay. No problem, Nevermore. I'll just put a link here for if anybody wanted to see it. Yeah. Hey, Jesus! Hey, Jesus, good to see you. 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 I know, it's been a while. Also, what are people doing for Christmas? What is people doing for Christmas? Going to watch the Sonic movie? Nice. Oh gosh, Elliot. Jesus, eating so much. Nice. Nevermore, it says, I've been studying for this exam certification for the last 4 weeks. Good luck with the exam, Nevermore. Taking a test for Christmas. Hey, sending you the good energy I can, Nevermore. LeMay says, well, writing and relaxing. Ooh, Nevermore said, you want to see Nosferatu? I saw, oh my gosh, I saw this thing. I don't know who it was. Some like person, I don't know if it was a writer or director or whatever, was like talking about, glad it helped forever. Considering I was talking about like when I was afraid I was going to die. I don't know if you were here for that part. But I'm glad you got some enjoyment out of it. But whatchamacallit? This person, well, I guess there was like some new Nosferatu movie or something. I don't know what it is, but like, they said they were grateful to SpongeBob for featuring Nosferatu. Oh, the D&D rant. Yeah, to SpongeBob for like reminding modern audiences about Nosferatu. And for like keeping like bringing it into the public consciousness in this modern era. And I'm like, yo, you know what? I'll take it. Like that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Goodness gravy. Okay. Let's get to the actual. Good luck, Elliot. Oh, that's funny. Nevermore. They wanted to make a live action Dracula, but they couldn't get the rights, so they just made Nosferatu. Good luck, Elliot. Yeah. I believe it. I like it was a big deal. I got distracted again. Yeah. Jesus. Pretty much the same plot as Dracula. Nice. Writing a Minecraft fanfic with no mention of any Minecraft things, but it's described really well, so you know it's Minecraft, and then publishing it as a totally professional fictional novel or something. I love it. I love it forever. On the topic of writing. So, I talked about this a little bit before, but like, I have been listening to ASMR roleplay. Which, it's funny, when I told my partner about it, she was like, how's that work? And I was like, you just gotta hear it. Okay. Are you in the Discord? Oh, cool. And so, and I was trying to explain to her that it's about stories, and it's like, usually you are the listener, and like, you have to, oh, you don't use Discord. Oh, okay. You have to like imply what your character's saying by how the other characters are reacting to it. I saw one really interesting one where like it was a multi-part series, and the one of them ends on a cliffhanger because you can't hear what your character, like, you hear the question, you don't hear what the listener says, but then it ends. Well, then the people are like, oh, I see. And they don't give any context clues, so you don't know what the listener said. And that becomes the cliffhanger. It was so good. Yeah, like going to a Victorian hat shop, and there's some of them that are like romance stuff. And I started listening, and I kind of like went through this whole journey with them, right? I started listening to like some like like friends to lovers kind of romance stuff. Oh my gosh, choose your own adventure ASMRs. You're right. I gotta do those streams. I gotta do the Everyone is John streams. Oh my gosh, we did talk about that. We put together ideas. It has been so long. It has been so long, Jesus. But I kind of went on this journey a little bit, right? With like, not physically, but you know what I mean. I was listening to, hey, there's nothing wrong with that, Elliot. I was listening to, I first started with like the friends to lovers, strangers to lovers kind of thing, or strangers to more or whatever, as more of like modern things. And then I heard one that was like, medieval, right? With like a knight and a princess. And I was like, ooh, this is a really interesting like angle to take. And the ones with like the arranged marriages, or the thing where it was like some kind of a thing where like it was involving like a princess and nobility and royalty, and it was just an interesting angle that I hadn't really dealt with in the fantasy, because so much of like my experience with kind of like medieval fantasy has been through like D&D and other games like it, where it's like you're an adventuring party and your interaction with like royalty is like getting a quest, or like dealing with like scheming nobles or whatever. But like the idea of a character just being in that situation and like building interactions and stuff, and like all of that stuff coming together was really interesting to me, right? So started working on some story ideas dealing with like medieval fantasy, the idea of like a commoner, ended up like a romance story between like a commoner and a noble, like a princess. And some of those kind of stories, I was tinkering around with some of those for a while, and I started listening to some other ones of like a few different ones of like knights rescuing princesses and stuff, and I was tinkering with that, and I got really far on that idea, right? And I was like, this doesn't really taste right, you know? And I started working on another idea where it was like, because I listened to one that was like an isekai, where it's like you're sent to another world, right? You're an otherworldly hero that gets summoned into this situation, right? And I started watching some like clips on YouTube of like different isekai anime, right? And different scenarios and different things and situations. I know a lot of them are like kind of, you know, just so much stuff. Why is there another ad? Sorry. Okay, let me write the ad, and then we'll continue. Okay. As the ad ended. Okay. Little cockroach running around. Added your self-insert OC to a fantasy realm. Sorta, but not really isekai. And he has guns. This guy also has magical powers of his own because this is an Undertale. Also Undertale in the future. Yes, I'm glad you thought. I'm glad you thought that was an adorably silly stream forever. I never really delved into a whole lot of that stuff, LeMay, honestly. All right, ad ended. Okay. So I was delving into that, right? And I was working on some kind of stuff. I started watching some like isekai stuff. I wanted to explore this idea. That I was like tinkering around with, right? It's kind of a self-insert kind of a story, right? In a weird way. Just hear me out. So you all know me as Orian. Or Ori, or some people call me Senshi or whatever, right? I'm gonna kind of mask off a little bit. My actual legal name is, well, first name, I'm not gonna tell you my last name, but my first name is Alexander. And when I was young, and well, I don't know, I don't feel young, but I'm not as old as I could be. But anyway, when I was younger, and especially in my teens, I felt kind of lost, right? I was feeling disenfranchised with a lot of things in my life, and I just wanted some kind of a direction. I felt like I didn't have, like, I very much loved stories of characters who had some kind of a goal or a big thing that they wanted to accomplish, or some kind of a directive or a direction. And like, I felt like I didn't have that. And I was like, I think it was like a bookmark. That's actually what I'm going to talk about, LeMay. I saw a bookmark that was like, that someone gave me, that was like Alexander, protector, hero, Um, and I was like, that sounds cool. So like, I looked it up. We had early internet at that time. Like when I was a kid, I started with dial-up, and then we got DSL. And like I remember the dark days. And I looked up some places what Alexander means. And it's weird. So when I looked it up, it means protector of people, helper, defender, right? I was like, cool. I read somewhere, I can't tell you where, I can't find it again, and I'm not entirely convinced that I didn't make this up. But I distinctly remember well, yes, it's a protector of men, because Ander means men, well, male, not Andrew, Ander. Oh, you uploaded a thing on YouTube? Nice. And I was like, I read a thing that said Alexander as a name was a reference to a position in a battle group of being the person up front with the shield to protect the people behind them, like the person behind them with the spear or whatever, right? And that stuck with me. The idea of a shield, something to ward, defend, deflect, right? And I went to look that up again later, right? When I was thinking about the name again and my name again and like story stuff, I couldn't find any reference to that anywhere. And I'm like, did I just imagine it? Like, I could have swore I read it somewhere, but like, I can't find it, right? So ever since then, I have always had an affinity for shields, tanks, like not like modern military tanks. Those are cool too, but like tanky characters in video games and stories. And this idea of a character whose purpose on the team is to take punishment, is to take the damage so that their allies don't have to. Some telekinesis, and can teleport limited amounts, and he can also throw 2 slippers at Mach 5. Nice. Mach 5 slippers. I love it, Elliot. I love it. Yeah. So it was, and so ever since then, I've like really liked those kinds of characters, those kinds of things. Oh, excuse me. And and I very much like that idea, and it's kind of been kind of a thing for me that gave me a bit of direction. Was the idea of being a helper, helping people where I can. I'm not a warrior, but I can listen to people's problems. Nice, Elliot, nice. And my thing that has kind of driven me has been being willing to make the hard decisions and do the hard things to help my friends, to be there for my friends in any way I can, to listen, to care. Maybe not give advice as much as like encourage and be there for them where I can, right? And like to like help them shoulder their burdens of what's going on in their life, right? And I had this mental image of, because like that thing that I thought I read, I might have made up, but I don't know, of an Alexander being a shield bearer that defends the people behind them. Hey, mercenary, nice. Mercenary and a femboy, great combination. And I've gone through a few different OCs, right? That are based on that idea. I had one OC that was when I first started really getting into Kamen Rider, and me and my bro started like making our own Kamen Rider OCs. We had a whole idea of a world, and it was this thing where it was before I started really writing things down. And oh, cool, Elliot. And like me and my bro would go back and forth bouncing ideas around. Okay. All right, Elliot. Me and my bro would go back and forth bouncing ideas around, right? And this was before I was really getting into typing and writing stuff down. And we built this entire story of a Kamen Rider story between us, right? Of like a Kamen Rider Academy and different ways of incorporating things from past seasons of the actual Kamen Rider show, and all of the OCs and plot lines, but we never wrote any of it down. And by the time we wanted to write it down, it was just so big that like we just got overwhelmed when we tried to write it. At least I did. And it was a lot. It was before I really got into writing like I am now. And there was this whole thing with like I had this Kamen Rider shield. Was this? You want to see my reaction? Or I'll take a look at it in a second, Elliot. There was this Kamen Rider shield, and Shield's whole thing was that he didn't have like any like offensive powers. Like, yeah, he could punch and kick and stuff, right? But he would create like a AoE of shields around him, right? He would like create like a dome of like shields made of energy that could block attacks coming for him or other people. And his main way of fighting was using the shield to redirect attacks back at people. And his shields, he would be like all these floating, glowing shields around him. And every time one of them got hit and he reflected an attack back at someone, the shield would break. So then if he got hit enough times by enough shields, enough hits, then he would run out of shields and he would get hurt. And my bro made a Kamen Rider spear that was just this huge, super powerful, like, way to bypass resistances and defenses to just do direct damage. Getting past everyone's defenses to pierce through them, right? We made our characters using mutants and masterminds to make like character sheets, and that was when I was really getting into mutants and masterminds, and that was so fun. I ended up using my shield OC in one of my mutants and masterminds campaign, my first one, and that was fun. And that was cool. But let me take a look at this thing you tagged me in, Elliot. Did you put it on YouTube community post? Okay, let's see. Tag me. Why is it not in my notifications? Elliot can't animate. I'll just look up the YouTube channel. Okay. All right, let's see. Not shorts. I want. Why am I not? Oh, here we go. I think this is you. Yeah. Community post. What have we got here? Nice. I don't see a character sheet. So I don't know if you were building them in D&D, but I like the picture that you posted. Looks like this was posted like 2 hours ago. Very cute. Oh, you posted looks like you posted a video 10 minutes ago. Oh, 8 days ago. 8 days ago. Okay, let me see. Scroll down a bit. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Very nice. Is that a baseball bat? Mach 5. Okay. See guns. Right. Can I make this bigger? Let's see if I can make this any bigger to read this. Ooh, telekinesis. Gun. Simply gun. Nice. Oh, we can just make someone show up. Okay. Cool. God may forgive, but I don't. I like it. Yeah, you can't pull a God level character. Yeah, that's cool. I think it's cool. I commented on that. I said, neat. Nice. Oh, and the picture from a day later? Let me see the picture from a day later. Let me reopen the page. Let me reopen the page. Thing to see. I know there's a watch history. Is there a... Nope, there's not a... posts. There we go. Cool. Yoink. That was only slightly annoying. Live community. Here we go. Let's see what we got. A picture a day later. He's throwing a... Oh, he's in a... Is he being attacked by something? Or is that someone he summoned? And he's throwing a grenade? Oh, he's being attacked. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. It is 11 o'clock already, and I haven't even gotten to the writing part. Oh my gosh, chat. Oh my gosh. I use bitstreamer. That is, I said, that is, captions. That is not what I said. See, now it's just gaslighting me. Simply stream longer. You're right, forever. Stream longer, 5head. Stream longer, 5head. Oh my gosh, stream forever. Speaking of streaming forever, you want to talk about your Christmas gift stream longer. All right. You want to talk about something that is really, really kind of silly. So you know how the whole thing, you've heard of subathons, right? Where it's like you have a timer, you're going to go at least this long, and for every like subscription or donation or whatever, you add to the, of a certain amount, you add to the timer, right? And everything adds. Hey, superhero 60, good to see you. I'm doing all right. Glad to be here. Also, if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't liked the stream yet, please like the stream. It helps the algorithm, and it helps with getting making the algorithm like me a little bit more, which is kind of necessary because I took some time off. But I completely lost my train of thought. Cat, what was I talking about? I have absolutely no recollection what I was talking about. Subathons, yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you forever. So, the entire concept of a subathon is you do, like, the biggest thing is subs, and then you add time to the timer, right? But the thing, and especially with uncapped subathons, right? If the subathon goes for an entire month, right? Unbroken, unless you gradually decrease the amount of time each sub adds to the timer, then it could theoretically go on forever. Because if people just if the same people keep resubbing, it's just going to keep going. And it's just going to roll over into the next month and the next month and the next month. And as you get more people, it's just going to get astronomically long. And I'm sure some people won't sub like multiple months in a row, but like the goal not the goal, but one of the things for like making money as a streamer is like getting repeat subscribers, right? And if you're giving incentives or whatever for subathons. I don't know if you've seen this. I think her name is Melissa Belladonna. She's a streamer. She's a VTuber. And her whole thing is she's a tiefling. Nice, Elliot. She's a tiefling. Did I say tiefling? Oh my gosh. She's a tiefling. And her whole like brand is like being horny on main and like being like really into doing stuff with dragons. And like that is like her entire brand. Well, not her entire brand, but that's a big part of it. That's like a lot of what people see for the public stuff. Like one of her most famous things that she's ever posted was when she said, that what I'm about to say is not exactly child friendly. So if your kid, cover your ears, I guess. I don't know. She said, if a dragon's like genital parts, male like penis, is scaled to its body size comparable to other lizards, then an adult or larger dragon should have a roughly 12-inch long penis. And theoretically, it should be survivable for a humanoid of average size to copulate, to have intercourse with a dragon in its dragonic form. And I think like she said that and she like made a tweet about that. And I think one of the, like she went into more specifics on it, but like she was just saying, because that's her whole brand is like doing stuff with dragons, right? Not her whole brand. That's selling her short. She's a very capable content creator, but that is a lot of the thing. Scaly reasoning. I love the all caps forever. I love the all caps. But basically saying, because one of the jokes had been like, if you like, because the whole thing of like talking about a bard wanting to like get with a dragon is like, or like trying to like do stuff with a dragon is that because they're so big, they'd have massive parts and like it would just like tear you to pieces. And she's like, if it's scaled like a lizard, it should be around 12 inches long. For like an adult or larger dragon. And I could be wrong, but I seem to remember one of the like D&D development team responding to the tweet and being like, yeah, that checks out. And it like went viral. It like blew up. Uh, yeah. Well, the idea is that a dragon's an intelligent being. Hey, Nabiru, you came in at the most yabai time possible. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie, Nabiru. Depending on how far back you're watching from, because I know sometimes it's like delayed for you. That's a really interesting point to end. Not end, but enter. Let me see if I can find the original tweet. Why is this chat going off the rails? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, chat. I was going somewhere with this, but then I got distracted. Where is it? Where is the... I see a picture of the thing, but I don't see the actual response. I see one where like someone made a reference to her and was like, who is this person that responded? Oh my gosh. So like, hold on. Let me see. Oh, okay. I'm thinking of a different one. So there are two things. There is... Okay. Why is that a large JPG? Well, okay, let me just get to the part that I was referring to. She is doing a uncapped subathon right now, which is why I mentioned her, right? And her uncapped subathon has been running for over 100 days. And I'm like, if I get the picture open. Yes, okay, cool. What is on topic forever? What is on topic? Started posting random OC writings on Wattpad at like half glad it's not getting traction, but also like mad because back in my days, anything would have gotten so much traffic. But yeah, like, hold on, what's her? Let me pull up her. She just put her. Let's see what she's up to. Is this? And like, it never goes below like 100 hours on the timer. The timer just never goes below 100 hours because people just keep like doing more stuff to add to it. And I'm like, and she's just like, oh, when this is over, I'm never doing an uncapped subathon again. And I'm like, yo, it might not end. But and the thing there were two tweets that why is it a wet pee? Okay. So I'll show this, then I'll actually get to the writing. Yeah. And I'm like, if she, I don't know, I haven't watched her streams in a while, but I'm like, if she isn't like decreasing the amount of time added for each sub, like theoretically, if the timer doesn't go below, if it hasn't gone below 100 hours in like over a month, she's like, it hasn't gone below 100 hours in the last 30 days. And I'm like, girl, you might not get out of that subathon. But let me show you this. Whoop. The picture of the tweet. Why is that so big? I don't know who the original artist is that was used for this, but who? Yeah, that's not the button I wanted. There we go. If lizard enemies scale to dragons, a 33-foot dragon would have a penis about 1.1 feet long, which means that a human can absolutely do stuff with a dragon without being damaged. So like that is one of the things that like she is known for, that at least I think she was the one who said that. And at least it's credited to her. And the other thing wasn't a thing she said, but it was a thing someone said about her, which is really funny. It's really, really funny. Oh, wow, that made it too small. Someone said, speaking of Melissa, so they're talking about her, what does tiefling milk taste like? This is Ed Greenwood, the person who developed the Forgotten Realms setting. And one of the original, like, creators of, one of the original, like, developers of D&D. So those are two things that like are reference to her. But anyway, let's get rid of the yabai. But yeah. But I still love the fact that I still love the whole thing. I was paraphrasing because I didn't remember the entire thing, so I said average size, and forever just going off on that, like forgetting that the average woman is only 4 to 5 inches deep. Anyway, which then takes me to, that actually is a good segue, which is kind of scary. Okay, I was paraphrasing. I couldn't remember all of the words. I couldn't remember all of the words forever. I'm sorry. I couldn't remember all of the words. But this actually is an oddly appropriate segue. So when I was listening to those audio role plays, and I was thinking about isekai stuff, and I was thinking about self-insert stuff, and I was playing with this idea of a character named Alexander, and at first I was looking at like a character who like is Alexander, is like a reject or whatever, and like has to come up to be a hero and something. I was thinking of arranged marriage stories, and then I was like, what if Alexander's an isekai character, right? And I was like, could totally do stuff with that, and like the idea of someone who's like self-sacrificing, and like their powers or whatever are based on being able to like withstand like punishment in place of others, and stuff like that. I was playing with all of those ideas, and like I was getting pretty far with these ideas, right? As I was like, as I was processing it, right? And then I happened upon some audio role plays, some ASMR audio role plays that were involving a princess, like the and medieval stuff, like I'd been listening to before, but had a dragon listener. I was like, that's interesting. Okay. And the idea of like kind of interactions building into like romance or whatever between the dragon and the princess, right? And I'm like, okay, that's not unheard of. I just hadn't really thought about it, right? And like, I might lose a few followers here. I might, some of you might just be like, nope, I'm out. So I'm taking a risk here. But I mean, I've been taking a risk all night. You know, we do these things. I would identify myself as a type of furry. More specifically, a scaly. Because I very much I'm interested in dragon stuff. I don't talk about it much. It's not on here. But I was like, because I have this image of a yes, furry. Shun the furry. I know. I wish I had the money to hire an appropriate artist to make my scale fursona, you know what I mean? And like, I had trouble imagining what I wanted it to look like, right? For a while, right? And then like, I was tinkering with ideas because I wanted some kind of like a black dragon, because I've always liked black dragons. The dark, the look of them, and like, even in like, ever since I first learned about D&D, I loved black dragons. And it was a thing this is kind of weird, but like I learned about the chromatic dragons when I went in 3.5 when I was like in like high school. And I was like learning about the different dragons. And, I oh no. And I loved the artwork for black dragons. And I loved black dragons, the black scales. And it was a thing where like kind of one led to the other and fed into itself. I learned to love the lore of black dragons because I liked black dragons. I liked that the dragon scale was black. So I was like, okay, I associated black dragons with the Forgotten Realms black dragon. And I was like, that's cool. I like that. It was a formative experience for me, right? And then like there was this like dragon orb was an item in 3.5, right? And it was a thing where like in 3.5 it like gave you powers based on the color of the dragon that soul was like bound in it, right? And I like that idea of like having a dragon soul bonded to you, right? Now there was the one thing that always bugged me, which I can't fault it, but it bothered me, was that if you ever possess one of the dragon orbs, because you I haven't really watched Fairy Tail. And the thing is, I don't like, okay, this is gonna sound, okay, I'm very specific when it comes to furry stuff, right? I'm not a big fan of the scale sonas where it has a human face, or like it's a human head and human face with horns. Like I understand some people like that, but like for me, I want there to be a dragon head and a snout, and like, you know, and like all of that, right? And so I loved black dragons, and they became my favorite. And the one thing with the dragon orb was that because there was a dragon soul bound in the orb, and you holding the orb meant you were benefiting from an imprisoned dragon, all dragons hate you as soon as you get the orb. And I'm like, I would love to have like an idea of a power of a dragon, but like maybe befriend it or something. And that's when I learned about that's when I started playing The Legend of Dragoon. And I was like, that's it. That's exactly what I want. Like bonded with a dragon, right? And some kind of stuff with that. And I was exploring that idea and different like black dragons. I loved Gore Magala when I started playing Monster Hunter. I was like, yes, that's it. Right? And the idea of it transforming into Shigeru Gore Magala was cool. Then I played Monster Hunter World. And when I tell you that Nergigante awoke something in me, I am not kidding. Nerdy Dante. Oh my gosh. Come on, captions. But like, Nergigante doesn't show image. Oh, trust me, I can get you an image. Hold on. Hold up. Okay, come on. Scroll down. Get to the folder. You can visualize. I think. Why is there a knife emoji? I think this is the one I wanted. Hold on. Wait, let me check the image before I open it in OBS. Hold on. Please hold. I'm like, I have a folder of different Nergigante images. And I was like, wait a second. Wait a second. Okay. Yeah, that's the one I wanted. Okay. Okay. So, Nergigante. It does not breathe fire. Oh, because you lost the water. It does not breathe any element. It does not use magic. It does not use any form of like energy attack at all. He throws straight hands. His power is essentially, yes, he is an angry porcupine. I know the rule of the internet. Trust me, Nabiru. Trust me. I couldn't find, I mean, I searched. I couldn't find images that hit exactly what I'm looking for. And like, so he starts in this, form here with just the spines there. When he starts fighting, his spines grow larger. And, he can keep regrowing spines. I envision him as having like infinite regeneration, right? Because that's his thing of like, you kill him, but then he just keeps coming back, right? And he is the hunter of elder dragons. He is like and if his spines aren't broken while he's fighting, because you can break his spines while you're fighting him, because he's the boss, his spines darken. When they darken, they become so much harder to break, and his attacks do more damage. And when they fully darken, he does his ultimate attack, which... What do you think the ultimate attack is for a dragon that doesn't use energy attacks? Take a wild guess. Not roll, but close. He flies up in the air and he dive bombs. He hurls himself into the ground, folding his wings down so those spikes on the back of his wings are facing forward. And he just brings his head down, so it's just a wall of spikes and horns, and he plummets. He throws himself into the ground and just flies into the ground and leaves a groove through the ground behind him as his momentum just carries him forward and does ridiculous amounts of damage to anyone that is in its path. And it has a completely obscenely broken AoE in Monster Hunter World. I don't know if they ever patched it, but like when the game first came out, you could literally be like under him and he goes, like, you could be under him when he starts the dive and be nowhere near where he actually touched the ground and you would still take damage. But because you were under where he started the dive, you would still take damage. It was so hilarious, right? And at the point in the game when you fight him, no matter what armor you're wearing, that will one-shot you. Well, if you tech into defense and you have your shield up and you have a weapon that can allow you to block with a shield, it might not one-shot you. So the thing is, you have to get out of the way. And then after he does his ultimate attack, all of his spikes break off, right? So then his attacks are, so now he's back to stage 1. And then over the fight as it goes, the spikes grow back and they grow back, and when they get to full length, then they darken, and then he does it again as he's moving around. He like swings his tail around, uses his claws, his teeth, his horns, right? And that's his whole thing, right? And it's revealed throughout Monster Hunter World that he is nature's balancer. When things get out of control in nature, when something is growing too quickly, when something is becoming too powerful, and it is destabilizing the ecosystem, he hunts it down and he eats it. And that doesn't just go for like regular monsters. That goes for elder dragons. He's the one who hunts the elder dragons and makes them behave. The elder dragons are like god level things. The elder dragons are like god level things, and he hunts them. Because he is that physically strong. He is physically stronger. He is physically strong enough and durable enough that he can withstand almost every attack of every elder dragon long enough to get to them, to just sink his claws into them and tear them apart. And like, oh my god. Right. And the whole thing about being the eater of elders, the god eater, he's essentially a god eater. And he doesn't have an element. He doesn't have a, like, in some later forms when he gets a special attack, which is like kind of a ranged attack, where I think it's in his second form, Ruiner Nergigante, which I'm not as big a fan of. Ruiner Nergigante is the second form in which the spikes, instead of being bone or whatever these spikes are metal. They are actually metal. And I think he still does the dive bomb as Ruiner. But the big thing with Ruiner is that he no longer is just throwing hands. He causes the bleed status now, which I feel like kind of ruins my image of him. Like, it makes sense, but like, I love the idea of him just, you don't worry about status effects with him. You just need to hit him, right? And like, Ruiner has this attack where he can put one of his foreclaws on the ground and then shove it through the ground in such a way that the ground will like push up and break off the spikes on his right forearm in such a way that they launch out like projectiles. So he can just do an AoE launching spikes around him by just shoving his hand through the ground. Which I guess that's okay, but like, it still bugs me that it's got the bleed status, and it just doesn't look, it just kind of not quite. Like, you'd think metal spikes, I like mechs, match made in heaven, right? But it just doesn't sit right with me. I was supposed to be writing and I went off. Well, this is relevant because I'm featuring my scale Sona in the story. So this is relevant. Let me get an image of Ruiner Nergigante so you can see what I mean. And Ruiner Nergigante, because the thing of Monster Hunter is you hunt the monsters, use their body parts to make weapons and armor, right? And I love, and I do mean, oh my god, do I love it, the way that Nergigante's armor looks. Oh my gosh. Oh, this is a really good reference. Hold on, what's this? Oh, this is Ruiner Nergigante. Thought I saw, what's this? Oh, this is... Oh, the evolutionary line of how Nergigante goes from Nergigante to Ruiner Nergigante. I'll save that for reference later. I'm getting sidetracked! That sounds cool. Nabiru. Oh, I didn't even realize there was a Twitch ad going. Oh, well. Feel bad for the Twitch people. Whoop. Whoop, 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 whoop. Let me... Okay. All right. Oop. Download. Let me see this. Image. Gosh. So there's a lot of like, there it is. There's a lot of like cockroaches in my apartment. And I've just gotten to deal with them. Like, I just wash everything before I use it because I just assume a cockroach has been on it. And like, I've just given up trying to chase them down and kill them because there's just so many of them. And like, I only really kill them if they annoy me. And if they are like, just like getting in the way. And like, so most of the time, if I feel one on me, I'll just shake it off and just like go away. But like, sometimes they just keep crawling on me. And I'm like, at some point, like, I'm going to catch you. But yeah, this is Ruin Energigante. It doesn't do, I love the white spikes and the contrast between the white spikes and the black body and the black and orange body. Ruin Energigante is just like, it is just all dark there. And the metals gives like kind of a bluish tinge to it. And it just doesn't like, it just doesn't sit as well. And the armor just doesn't do it for me. And again, the whole bleed thing just bugs me. Let me show you the armor. Let me show you the Nergigante armor. I'm not going to show you the Ruin Nergigante armor because I didn't bother getting any of that pictures of that because I don't like it. Nope, that's not the button I wanted. Where is it? What do I want? Is this the one? That's a pretty decent picture, but let me get a better one. Whoop. There we go. That's a better look at it. Actually, do I have... I could have swore I had... Yes, there we go. Main character found out who was responsible for the death and kidnapping of 2 students. He has to catch them now. I'm trying to figure out cool confrontation. Ooh, confrontations are always exciting. So this is the Nergigante armor. I love it. I love the whole look of the spikes and the way the armor sits, and the fact that like it is like a full set of armor, full body armor. Actually, I also have some images of the weapons, right? So if I would describe it as like my scale Sona, originally was just like a really big Nergigante. But then as I was thinking about what I wanted, right? I realized, like, especially for like a warrior, right? I wanted a warrior that was like in Nergigante armor, right? Like, follow me on this, right? Nergigante armor, except instead of it being armor, it's like his skin, right? Instead of hands, they're dragon claws. Instead of this head, it's Nergigante's head, like scaled for this body. Instead of feet, instead of those little feetsies down there, have like dragon claws. Nergigante tail coming out the back, and then wings coming out the back as well, right? So I'm like, okay, that's a vision I want. How do I get there, right? Let me show you one of the most frustrating things to have found, right? It's good art that I found, somebody did, but it is very frustrating, and I'm going to show you why. Oh, furry atrocity. Okay. Look at this. This is so close to what I want. But look at that face. I also would like more armor on the abdomen area, and a little bit more armor on the arms. But like, that face, it haunts me. Now this is good artwork. I don't mean to like disparage the artist. I think the artist is Higuri, I think. Yes, Kiguri was the one who made this. I found it on Fur Affinity. When I say I went to the deep annals of the internet to find what I wanted, I meant it. Furry atrocity. Right? You see what I mean? Furry atrocity. I'll look that up. Hold on. What is this? That's a bug. I don't know what that is. It looks cool. I don't know what it is. Yeah. So like, and I'm going to tell you, oh my gosh. So like, when I talk about things, frustration, right? So I'm like, okay, he's not going to be the only, like for this story, I'm going to have other characters that are dragons, because I like dragons. I wanted to feature them in the story that would be like this. And I had this idea of like, I had this idea for the story, right? Of these dragons that like, they can transform. They have 3 forms, right? That each serve a different purpose, right? They have their dragonic form, which is like, this. Oh, let me move that to the top. Whee! Whoop. The actual Nergigante, the big Nergigante, that like is like more defensive and durable. Like there's more like scales and stuff to be able to absorb damage. And it's big, it's bulky, and they're really comfortable in it, right? And then on the opposite end, right, they have a human form, right? And the purpose of the human form is to remind them of their humility, is to keep them humble, right? If they go into their human form, like they can be killed as easily as any other human, right? But they can also blend in as a human. There's like no horns, tail, or anything like that. They are just like fully human. But then they have their hybrid form. Like, cause this idea of like shifters, I was exploring with like ideas about shifters and like werewolf type stuff. So I was like, so then they have a hybrid form that's like an anthropomorphic dragon, right? And so they have these, and I'm thinking like, okay, so it's a thing where they have all of the strength of their dragon form with the like dexterity and precision of the human form. And they still have their wings and tail and stuff. And then I was like, okay, I'm getting stuff from Monster Hunter. So then what if the dragon in their hybrid form was like wearing the armor, except their skin was the armor that you make in Monster Hunter out of that dragon, right? I was like, okay, cool. We're getting somewhere, right? And then I'm like, okay, and then what if it's a thing where they can summon from their body the Monster Hunter weapons, right? That are the weapons made of their body, their scale, that like they can use as force multipliers to like increase their efficiency and destructive power, to like focus their raw strength at down to the edge of a blade, right? Or whatever, right? I was like, okay, we're getting somewhere, getting ideas, cool. So I start looking, I'm like looking for other Monster Hunter characters, and I was like, okay, I'm thinking main character, gonna be a Nergigante, right? Okay, I want first love interest to be a princess, some kind of human princess, right? Gonna do some stuff with like how I'm still working out like how they meet, what they do, like and like how their relationship is and all of that stuff, right? So I'm like, okay, kind of going into the trash harem era, right? Not gonna lie, just kind of just having a little bit of fun here. Actually, let me clear up these images. Let me get these images off screen, so you can actually see my model. Whoop. I'll just leave Nergigante over here because he's the boy. Yeah, it's still yes. So I'm like, okay. I was like, and a lot of the fanfics I was seeing of like Monster Hunter stuff, well, at least in some of them, there was a Nergigante Velkhana pairing, right? Velkhana, so Nergigante is the flagship monster, or like big monster that's on the cover and is like a big driving part of the story of Monster Hunter World. Velkhana is the flagship monster of Monster Hunter World Iceborne. Iceborne is the extension of World. So then it was this thing about like, I could see this of like them being parallels, and Velkhana being very like dainty looking and light, but then using lots of ice attacks, and Velkhana covers itself in like ice armor and just doing lots of like the stuff that Nergigante doesn't, right? So I was like, okay, so then have Velkhana as kind of like a second love interest, I guess, to enter the harem, as it were, right? And Velkhana being like maybe starting as kind of like a rival to the human woman, to the princess, or maybe having some kind of a thing as like they get to know each other or something, right? So I'm like, okay, let me look for some Velkhana art. And some like anthropomorphic Velkhana art or whatever, right? Chat. Let me show you something. This is a picture of a Monster Hunter Rise mod, which turns you, if you equip the Velkhana armor in Monster Hunter Rise, it turns you into an anthropomorphic Velkhana. It is literally everything I want to visualize the Velkhana character. And I'm like, oh, this is exactly the reference I want to use when describing the Velkhana character. Ignore for whatever reason, they make the dog look like Velkhana's dragon form, except smaller, which I thought was funny. But like, I'm like, okay, awesome, outstanding, wonderful. Exactly down to the nose, the image I want to picture what I want for the Velkhana character, right? I was like, yes. And I'm like, if Nergigante's character is like no magic and all about like physical strength and durability and regeneration, that I would want Velkhana to be like, she's like a master mage or something, and she uses like the insect glaive as like a casting staff or something, and can do all kinds of spells and stuff. So I was working out stuff about that, right? Then I'm like, okay, wait a second. Someone made a Velkhana mod. They must have other mods, right? Then like, if this is a thing, then like, Must have been on other things, right? And you know what I found out? They did. There's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of them that are like exactly what I want for images for characters that I could use for the story, right? Just to describe these characters, right? Of anthropomorphic characters with features of their monster form built in and around the armor that you would make out of them. And I'm like, this is great. This is great. That I'm like, oh. I cycle back around and I say, chat. I don't say chat because you're not there, but I'm like, what if someone made a Nerd mod? Because some of these mods are from Monster Hunter World. Let me show you one from Monster Hunter World. Because they're mods for Rise and World. And I'm like, oh, okay. The Rise and World got stuff, right? Here we go. Someone made Sappy Jiva, the final post-story boss of Monster Hunter World Iceborne. The post-story boss of Monster Hunter World Iceborne that was the secret boss. Well, technically the secret boss was Fatalis, but that's a whole other story. So like there's stuff for Monster Hunter World and for Iceborne. And I was like, yes. All right. Let me find Nerd. Chat. I searched the entire Nexus Mods website. I spent over an hour scrolling and searching and trying to search different keywords. Then I tried searching different keywords. Then I just tried going through every Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter World, every Monster Hunter World Iceborne, and every Monster Hunter Rise mod listed on the Nexus Mods website. I spent over an hour doing this. There was not one single mod. It was over an hour. All right, I stopped counting at an hour now, Biru. At some point, it just got depressing to keep track of how much time I was spending. There was not a single mod to turn you into an anthropomorphic Nerd in any way, shape, or form. With armor or without armor. I know I was specifically looking for with armor, but I don't think I saw any. Actually, let me double check something real quick. Hold on. I'm gonna go look for something again. Hold on. Whoop. Whee. Oh, I don't want Monster Hunter. Whoop. Oh. Then we just search this. Nope, there's stuff to add other forms of Nerd, stuff to change the look of the weapons. Change the look of the armor. Somebody made the sword bigger. Made it fight in a different area. Fighting multiples. Changing the battle theme. Changing the roar. Oh, that's a background change. What is this? Is this? Oh, okay. I saw something that was like, I found one that was like posted a few days ago, actually, that was like painted Nergigante skin. And the images have Nergigante walking around the starting base that normally only players can go through. And I'm like, oh, it's not anthropomorphic. It's just regular Nergigante. It's just regular dragon form Nergigante just walking around the thing. And I read the description. Description says, replaces some of Nergigante's texture and nothing else. It just looks cool. So no, that just changes the way actual Nergigante looks. But for the picture, they just placed it in a place only players could go to taunt me, expressly to taunt me. But yeah, that's not even an anthropomorphic Nergigante. So yeah, there is nothing on Nexus Mods. I'm not very good at that, Nabaru, not gonna lie. And I don't... You're right, Forever. It is so rude. How rude. But Nergigante, the flagship of Monster Hunter World, not a single anthropomorphic Nergigante mod at all. At least for the player. I think there's one where you can make one NPC look like an anthropomorphic Nergigante, but they don't even have a good picture of it. And it just like changes the head. It doesn't change the body at all. And I'm just like... Sorry, I was supposed to be describing the story, and I went on a rant about like my frustrations with trying to find, like, delving into looking for reference images for my Scale Soda. Which, yeah, I'm not very good at modifying pictures. Nabiru already said that. But yeah, I found a bunch of references, and I was like, okay, if it's for a story, I can just, like, write it, you know? And, oh, you want to see something funny? You want to see something absolutely hilarious? Okay, I'm going to show you something that... The thing that like was like the straw that broke the camel's back. Yeah, I know I'm supposed to be writing. I know I'm supposed to be writing. Okay, let me just show you this, then I'll actually get to writing. The straw that broke the camel's back, that just broke me in this process. This is almost exactly what I'm looking for, but it's the female armor. I would prefer a little bit more armor here and there because the female armor covers far less skin than the male armor because video games. More spikes on the tail. But, yeah. I find this. This is very much similar to what I'm looking for. Maybe changing some of the spikes a little bit, but it's the female model. And it doesn't have wings. It doesn't have wings, but like, yeah. Yeah, she doesn't have wings. And I'm like... Ooh, my soul. It's got the head, it's got the snout too. Look at that, look at the face. It's got the dragon snout, not too big on the headpiece area up here, but like got the eyes, the teeth. You know, like, and I'm like, this is oh, very close. Okay. Okay. I realize I have just been on a rant for like an hour, and I am sorry. But like, I have not really had anyone to talk to about my frustration with this process. So I kind of just trauma dumped on all of you, because that's totally a trauma, not just, you know, first world problems. Sarcasm. Complete and utter sarcasm. Yes. First world problems, textbook definition, first world problems. I can't find good art for my fursona. If that's the worst thing that happened to you today, you're living a great life. Oh gosh. All right, let's get to the actual writing. It's more going to be outlining and explaining what I have for the story so far, and some of the ideas I'm tinkering with. That is not the button I wanted at all. It's not the thing I wanted to do at all. This is not what I wanted. Why is... Oh, Chrome, can you please show up? Thank you. Can't find good art? Simply learn how to make your own. I might reach that point. I might reach that point forever. Like, goodness knows I can't afford to hire an artist. I don't have any income right now. The only reason I'll be able to pay some of my bills next month is because I got my Twitch payout this month. Alright, let's get down to it. Right? Okay. Okay. Let's go basic idea of the story. Come on. There we go. Would help if I put the chat up so I can see what everyone's saying. Oh, it's fine forever. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I appreciate the thought, though. There we go. I hadn't streamed it so long, I forgot the shortcut to make my chat stay on top when I change screens. I was like, wait a minute, hold on. Think. So basic idea of this setting is there are multiple worlds. There are multiple different worlds with different gods and different rules of nature. Some gods go between worlds, and the idea is that the gods gain power from the praise and worship of their followers, and without that power, as oh no, forever. Gods can give each other power, though, usually as part of some deal or exchange. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right, just doing some world building right now before we get to the actual characters. So multiple different worlds, different gods, different rules of nature. Some gods go between worlds. The gods gain power from praise and worship of their followers, and without that power, they wander the cosmos as eternal voices only able to whisper into the ears of mortals. Gods can give each other power, though, usually as part of some deal or exchange. The gods exist in a spiritual realm that exists just outside the world they're influencing. There's a barrier over each world that prevents them from directly entering as their whole self. They can shape physical avatars and place a fraction of their power inside them to act on their behalf, and they can speak to mortals to give them instructions and grant them divine mana to cast divine spells. Cast divine spells. Okay. I'm kind of like setting up like the magic system a little bit. What time? How long has the stream been going? I have getting so sidetracked. Oh my gosh, we're over 3 hours. Oh my gosh, chat. Oh my gosh. I'm getting hungry. This always happens. I just got into it and I'm getting hungry, chat. Christmas strem. Christmas strem. It is Christmas Eve now. Oh my gosh. I'm going to a breakfast on Christmas Day, but I'm not doing anything like until later on in Christmas night, because Wednesday nights is my normal date night with my partner. I might do a Christmas Day stream and then work on this as my Christmas present to myself. I don't know. I gotta think about it. I am getting really hungry. I am getting really hungry. Figures as soon as I get to the writing part. My body just says, hey, you know that thing called eating that you're supposed to do on a regular basis? You should probably go do that. Oh, goodness. Let's wind down for now. Like I said, I might do more with this. I have gone through, oh my gosh. I have gone through so many drafts of this story in my head and changing and tweaking. And this has just been a journey, chat. I have just been on a journey with this story. And every time I think I like it, I'm like, you know, and so there's this thing, right? So what keeps happening is I will set up some stuff in the world in my head. I'm not writing anything down. I'll run through the first part of the story, run through the stuff as the story progresses, as I'm like, okay, so then this happens, getting a vision for cool scenes and powerful moments and character interactions and like all this stuff that I want to happen moving forward as it develops, as these ideas happen. And then I'll get really far along in it, and I'm like, I get to a point where I'm like, I get to a point where I'm like, hey, what if I add this other character? What if I add this other element? Right? Do some world building a little bit. Add something that expands on the world building, right? Just like as some kind of a thing. And then I'm like, oh, that fits perfectly because that fits in with this and this and this and this, right? After I go through a few ideas, then I move forward with it, right? And then after I get a little bit, I'm like, wait a second. If that's a part of the world, what if it was always a part of the world? So then I go back to the beginning of the story. And then I'm like, how would the start of the story be different, taking into account this new world building that I came up with later on down the story? And then I'm like, oh, what if I introduced that character earlier, right? And had more time to build that character. How would that go? How would I even introduce that character? What interactions would that character have, like if they met before this point? And then I'm like, oh, that's this new element that I really like. So then I move forward with the story, and then I get a little bit further down, and then I'm like, ooh, wait a second. Here's another element. What if I introduce that at the beginning of the story? And I just go back. You're right. It's a never-ending cycle. It's just a never-ending cycle forever. It's just a never-ending cycle. But and that is just, the story is just kept reshaping and rechanging and transforming over and over and over again. The main theme being a protagonist built around my ideas and experiences and feelings about the name Alexander. Like, I really like the name, and like, it's a thing where, so like, you know, a lot of times when people change their names, right? Like specifically like when with trans people or gender nonconforming people, or they choose a new name for themselves, right? And then the process of legally changing your name and all that jazz. Normally it is, at least from what I've seen, it is the first name you change, right? You change your first name, you keep your family name and everything else the same, right? Or like maybe you change your middle name or whatever, right? That's just what I've seen. There could be a lot of other examples of this, but like for me, I had so much frustration with my last name, and with the kind of negative experiences and associations and feelings I have about my biological father's side of my family, that I was like, because there was a time after I started streaming, and I took the name Orion on stream, and I started using it in other contexts, and I realized I really liked the name Orion and what it represented for me, right? And I felt like I was more myself. Let me change to my just chatting screen. I was more myself when I was streaming. I was more myself when I was being Orion, right? But I still love the name Alexander, right? And it was still important to me. It was still special and precious to me, right? But like this name Orion, like I tell some of the people that I care about the most to call me Orion, you know? And I was, at a time, I was like, I was thinking, I wonder if I could just change the whole name and just be Orion Alexander and just change my last name to Alexander or something. Because it's a name that's important to me. And then I looked into what it takes to change your name legally if you're not getting married. And it is an expensive and can be, at least where I live, it can be an expensive and lengthy process that isn't always, that sometimes you end up paying out the nose for this stuff, and then your name then stuff gets rejected, and all of that jazz. So I was just like, that's just money I can't afford to spend. And I didn't feel like I had the spoons to really deal with that process. Because like, you have to, in order to change your name in the US, from what I saw, at least in my area, it's like you have to open a court case against the hospital where you were delivered, in order to get them to change, in order to get the records changed. And I'm like, and then you have to wait for them to respond, and then all of the stuff, and then they have to do background checks to make sure you're not trying to run away from some kind of criminal background or something, and all that jazz. And like, in the process of that, right, and realizing that and being like, you know what, I can just tell people to call me Orion. I don't have to like deal with all of that stuff of changing my name, right? Yeah, it is a lot of work, right? At least that, I don't know if it's like that all over the US. I know that's what it's like here where I live. I'm not going to say where I live, but that is like, it's a whole thing, right? And I will not say where I live, but I will say the hospital where I was delivered in is legitimately on the opposite side of the country. So I would have to like file these papers, mail them to them, wait for them to respond, and wait for them to mail them back, and then go through this process. And I'm like, I can't. And somewhere along the way, I don't know how to put this. I made peace with my last name. I know that may sound weird, but like, it's been a source of prejudice, and just difficulty in my life. And I had a lot of bad associations with my biological father's family, and like recently, like my half sister on that side got in contact with me, well, relatively recently, and like that, just the whole thing, and there's just a whole lot of stuff there. But at some point, I made peace with it, and I was like, okay, I can accept that this is my name, and this is what it is for now, or for whatever. Like, and I think also I didn't, when I realized that like the expectation was that you change your first name, and the expectation was you change your first name and then you keep your same last name, or like change first and middle or whatever. And I didn't want to get rid of Alexander. But I didn't want to have like way too many names, you know? And the obvious choice is just have Alexander be my middle name, right? And that would require changing my middle name. And so it sounds bizarre. My middle name is my mother's maiden name. Like, you know, some people will like hyphenate their names when they get married or whatever. Nope. Just turned it into the middle name. I remember I was visiting with my mom's side of the family, and they were doing some kind of a bit where they were calling each other by their middle names, right? As to tease each other. And they're like, what's your middle name? And I said my middle name. Like, no, that's your last name. What's your middle name? And I'm like, no, that's my middle name. And they turned to my mom like, what's his middle name? And she's like, tell them your full name. And I told them my full name, and my uncle was like, what? How did he get that name? Like, how? What? Why? But anyway, enough partially doxing myself. I need to get food. It is coming up on 3.5 hours, and I got so little writing done, chat. I got so little writing done. I spent more time talking about about like thinking I was going to die, and the challenges of being a furry, of being a poor furry. Not poor me, I'm a furry. No, I'm a furry that lives in poverty. Just stay on. But I'm hungry. Mukbang stream. Oh my gosh. Just leave you all on the intermission stream while I go intermission screen while I go cook, and then just come back and be like, you know what? This is a writing stream where we have done actively very little writing. Yes, really breaking furry stereotypes. Broke furry. I suspect there are plenty of broke furries in the world. Oh my gosh, oh goodness, that just hurts my soul. Like, the thought of doing, like, the setup required. I still haven't even done my crazy food eating stream because I couldn't afford the groceries. Oh my gosh. That was a good laugh. Yeah. Probably is best for my stomach. I do want to do it one day once I like actually have income. But like that was a very undignified sound. All right. Okay. Got an ad that's about to run. I'm going to just run the ad a little bit early on Twitch. Once that ad's done, I'll do an outro and say positive affirmations for everybody. And we will wind down for the night. Mom said lime would help stomach. It did till it didn't. Okay. You're eating a slice. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that makes it better. I don't know. All right. Ad ended. Okay. All right. 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 Goodness gravy. It's good to be back, chat. It's good to be back, chat. I have been kind of like self-isolating for a little bit, so it is good to like interact with people again. I might do a Christmas Day stream. See if people want to hang out. Work on my furry story, my scaly story. I'm still so mad that there is not a mod to make you anthropomorphic nerd gigante. Like, how? Like, sorry. Like, it just... What? Anyway. I'd like to shout out all the people who were active in chat tonight. Thank you to all of them for paying attention and being here. Well, I value everyone who's active in chat. I also value people who are just lurking. It's great to have lurkers. And should make me chuckle. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! So we had Gork, we had Nevermord, we had Warbandit, we had Jesus, we had Noel Main, we had Silva, we had Elliot Can't Animate, LeMay, who hit 41,000 words while I was gone. Proud of LeMay. We had we have Forever. There's Jesus. Thought we had other people. And all the we had Superhero 60 was here. Shout out to your cat, Crystal. All right. I'm shouting out Crystal. All right. To everyone I mentioned, to everyone I shouted out, to everyone who, and also to people who watch this VOD afterwards, and to people who were just lurking in chat, I would like to say, she's staring at you like, woo. I love all of you, and I believe in each and every one of you. I believe that you all have the potential to make this world a better place by living in it in your own unique way. This world is better for having you in it. I want you to know that you are valued, you matter, you are important. Your hopes, your dreams, your fears, and your concerns are worthy of notice. You deserve to be listened to. You are worthy of love, and you are deserving of happiness and good things. That even goes for the cat, Crystal. And I say that you all make my life better. I'm grateful to interact with all of you. And always remember the Star Hunter motto. Shoot for the stars, have wonderful adventures, live your dreams, and always stop to enjoy the memes. If you're watching on YouTube, I ask that you like the stream. It helps the algorithm with getting it out to more people. If you want to keep up with what I'm doing, you can... Oh no, Crystal's a grumpy mean cat, but does Crystal make your life better? If you want to keep up with me, you can subscribe on YouTube. You can follow or subscribe on Twitch. You can follow me on Blue Sky Social, X or Twitter, or like my Facebook page. Oh, good. Or join my Discord. Links to all of those are in the description down below on YouTube or in the About page on Twitch. If you have any friends or neighbors or anyone, coworkers, anyone you think might enjoy my content, even your cats, tell your cats that you think might enjoy my content. Feel free to show them my content and invite them to the next stream, which might be Wednesday. I don't know. Might do a Christmas Day stream. Who knows? We'll see. If not, I'll definitely do something Friday. I think maybe. I don't know. Who knows? One last thing, you don't have to give money to be here. I know I talk about the fact that I don't actually have income right now, but I don't want anyone to feel pressured or obligated or guilt tripped that they have to give money or that they're required to give money to be welcome here. I appreciate the people who do give money. I appreciate the money, the people who make things possible for me that would not be possible otherwise. But even if you don't give a cent, I'm grateful to have you here. I value your time, your energy, and your attention. With that said, if you do ever want to give, there are links where you can do so down below in the description on YouTube and the donate button on Twitch. On YouTube, there's a link to PayPal where you can do a one-time donation, or Ko-fi where you can do one-time donation or monthly donations. And the donate button on Twitch goes to Ko-fi where you can do one-time donation or monthly donations. Just as a reminder, there are not currently any monthly rewards for the monthly donations on Ko-fi. It is just saying that you have a tangible way you would like to say that you appreciate my content. And I appreciate the people who do that. So have yourselves a wonderful night, and know that you are beautiful people. Surprise hands jump scare. Good night, everybody.